Hey, I want to talk about pride. And I'm not just going to talk about pride from my standpoint, my viewpoint. I'm going to talk to you on pride from our CEO, Vinnie Strumolo's blog. Okay, you can read all of his blogs. I believe our clinical director has wrote one as well, or a couple, and you can check those out at resolutionshealthcare.com. Today's podcast, it's just going to be me. My name is Dalton Blazic. As you know, I'm the director of experiential programming for Resolutions Healthcare. Right now, our inpatient facility, Hidden Oaks, is where I am recording this from. In the barn loft, actually barn loft that I've converted and kind of turned into a little studio of its own. So I'm glad to be here with you. And today I want to talk about pride. And I'm not just going to talk about pride from my standpoint, my viewpoint. I'm going to talk to you on pride from our CEO, Vinnie Strumolo's blog. Okay, you can read all of his blogs. I believe our clinical director has wrote one as well, or a couple, and you can check those out at resolutionshealthcare.com. You can learn about our treatment centers. You can learn about the staff and meet the staff and see where we come from and learn about our philosophy. So all that is available to you at resolutionshealthcare.com. Whatever platform you're viewing this on, please like it, please share the video. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, anything, and you have the ability to subscribe, please do that. It just puts us in the algorithm to get this video out to more folks and see more folks helped that have addiction and mental health issues. All right. We don't need to suffer in silence. People don't need to suffer in silence. Help us get this video out there to see more lives changed. All right. So enough with the introductions. Let's get into the pride discussion. He says, I do not pretend to be a deeply religious person, but the Bible quote of pride goeth before destruction and the haughty spirit before the fall resonates with me. Okay. And I don't think I'm wrong. I believe that is Proverbs 16:18. But it might be Proverbs 18:16. Sometimes I get those backwards. But that the Bible reference, the Bible quote, the scripture that he quotes right here, pride goes before destruction and the haughty spirit before the fall, resonates within him. The definition of pride has two vastly different meanings. The quote, the scripture, refers to the meaning of an inflated self-worth as opposed to taking pride in an achievement. The former is the version I'm referring to in this writing. So how does this quote relate to our lives? So there's two definitions of pride depending on the context of what you're using it for. So it can be an inflated self-worth, inflated self-esteem, or taking pride in an achievement is, being excited, being ecstatic, being happy, and taking pride in winning first at the 100-meter dash. It's being happy, being pumped up at winning the championship for the 12U football team, whatever it is. Um two types of pride. And the haughty spirit, haughty is a word we don't use much, so I wanna break that down for you a little bit. Haughty is the first definition of it is just height. So the height or the length of something. But another definition for it is an obstinate view of oneself. It is thinking of oneself too highly or too much. And I have my phone as one of the cameras today, so I can't look up the word for word. But yeah, haughty, it's thinking too much of yourself. It's thinking, man, I got this. So it's right there with pride, but kind of in a little bit different vein. But that's what we're going to go with. Vinny says, in the recovery world, I speak of pride being a destructive force in addictions and other mental health issues. It is a simple deduction, if you are in addiction treatment, that you are not doing well and your lives need to change. Okay. That's a simple deduction. That's reasonable. If you're in recovery, if you're in treatment for substance use disorder, you're not doing good. All right. This isn't where you come to just get a month-long vacation, a 2-month-long vacation. This is somewhere you come if you need help, and we are willing and ready to help you whenever that is. But when you come to us, you're not doing well. Let's talk about it how it is. Your lives need to change. If you think you can take a prideful stance, then you are not ready to recover and change your lives for the better. It is time to cash in pride for humility. Okay, so what is humility? Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less. Okay, so if I'm a humble person, which I'm not, I'm a prideful person, and that's something that I have to work on every day. But the humble person doesn't walk around beating themselves up. Oh, I'm terrible. I'm this. I'm that. Let me, they just don't think about themselves. They just put others before themselves. They just think about your need before their own need. So cash in pride for humility. He says, I have learned the hard way that taking pride in a life that was filled with unhappiness, anger, arrogance, and self destruction taught me the hard lesson of humility, the opposite of pride. Yet, if we look at life as circular, you will see how close we all are with virtues and emotions that are only a click away from falling prey to the opposite effect. Too often, love turns to anger, laughter to crying, self confidence to arrogance, oppressed to oppressor, and so on. And I was teaching a group yesterday. We were sitting around a campfire and we were having a discussion, a process discussion after we finished with our activity, and we were talking about the three elements of fire making. You got to have oxygen, fuel, and heat to keep a fire going. And we were talking about the three elements that keep our recovery going. And everybody went around and one man said confidence, self-confidence. Um, and I brought up the fact that as addicts, a lot of us tend to take things to extremes. So we got to be careful, and this is what Boss is saying here as well. We got to be careful because all of our emotions are so close to going to the opposite effect. We can turn from love to anger, laughter to crying, self confidence to arrogance. So I was telling this man yesterday, you just gotta find a balance. You just gotta be careful with that because it's so easy for confidence to become cockiness. And cockiness is pride. You see how I'm connecting the dots there? So we just gotta keep a balance. The perfect display of this 180-degree flip is apparent in relationships. Many begin with love and transition to hate or anger. It is amazing how that cycle is repeated in our lives. Pride also enters relationships and our ability to put it aside when dealing with issues. However, there is a center where the balance of our being can be pinpointed. It is up to us to keep that balance from flip flopping back and forth with extremes. Find a balance, work on that balance. I challenged my clients yesterday after they name those three elements that keep their fire for recovery going. I challenge my clients to remember those ever so often. And when they feel their fire for recovery lacking, think back to which one of those elements have you not been working on. Some people said honesty. Some people said, fellowship. Some people said the word. So whatever your three are, and there could be more than three, and they can change over time. But when your fire for recovery starts to go out, I challenge them to look back and see where they're out of balance. Exactly what Boss is saying here. It's up to us to keep that balance from flip flopping back and forth with extremes. He says, in all my programs, I stress the need to work the mind, body, and spirit to achieve a balance. It is what I believe is needed to keep all our emotions and beliefs balanced in our lives. If one becomes too extreme, it will throw off that balance. To balance all three, we first must recognize how they impact us. Pride is just one of those balances that come into play. So mind, body, and spirit, finding a balance. That is our philosophy here. That is what I believe. That is what we believe. Work on that mind, learning, growing, knowledge, wisdom. Work on your body, working out, walking, getting outdoors. Do something to engage your body in something and to build your strength, build your muscle. when I work out, it helps me to release that, to get that dopamine hit and just let go of any aggression or any anger or anything that I'm holding on to and release that in a positive way. And then mind, body, spirit. Um, I am a Christian, so I will speak on a lot of things from that regard. But at Hidden Oaks, at Resolutions Healthcare, you're welcome to find your own way. Whether that is Christianity, Catholicism, whatever it is, Eastern, Western, we'll get you what you think you need to recover. One thing our COO always says is, "We'll meet you where you're at." So if you think that kicking a ball at a wall all day is going to help you get sober, then we will buy a ball, paint a box on the wall, and have you go at it. We can probably teach you something a little better than that, but that's just where we are. We're going to meet you where you're at. So we will help you in whatever way we can to find that balance. But you got to be working on all three: mind, body, spirit. To simplify what I'm saying here, Vinnie says, taking pride in ourselves when our world is in turmoil or despair is a destructive force that will prevent you from healing. And when you come into treatment, when you go to treatment, your life is in turmoil and despair. Let's not pull punches. Let's talk how it is. Going to rehab, your life is in despair. Your life is crashed, and it's time to rebuild. You cannot rebuild if pride is still running the race, if pride is still steering the ship. See you at the next rehab, he goes on to say. I stress in my trauma and addiction groups that if you continue to let pride drive you, even while at rehab, then I will see you at the next rehab. If you have reached a point of losing most things in life and still want to maintain pride, then expect the inevitable fall and continued unhappy, unhealthy, and toxic lives you have created. And I'm going to get personal. I mentioned it earlier that I am a prideful person. Um, I'm not the smartest in the room. Well, I am the smartest in this room because it's only me here right now. But in most cases, I'm not the smartest in the room. I'm not the most athletic in the room. I'm not the most handsome in the room, although I did just get this new fade and I look pretty good. But I walk with a limp, from some rodeo accidents that I've had and car wrecks. So I don't have a lot of pride. I don't have a lot of things to have pride in the things I can do anymore. But one thing I can do is talk. I'm a good communicator. I feel a lot of times, um, so I can talk, and it's easy for me to just spit out words. So I can be prideful in that regard, and a lot of times, my mouth can get me in trouble, and I can say things that I don't mean. I can say hurtful things to people, to my wife, for instance, that are just toxic and not healthy for our relationship. Um, and that is pride. I'm I'm not prideful about the way I walk or my knowledge or anything. So I feel like I have to hold on to something. So I hold on to, well, if I can't do any of this other stuff, I can dang sure I can dang sure tear somebody down with the way that I'm talking. That's crazy. That's crazy, and that is not a way to live. So I told you earlier, this is something that I have to work on every single day. Um, none of us are finished working on ourselves until the day our ticket is punched. So continue to work on yourself. Vinny says, it took me 4 years of unrelenting pain before I surrendered to humility. It was and continues to be a memory I do not want to forget. It keeps my present psyche in balance and helps me avoid repeating the lesson. A memory he doesn't want to forget. Because if we forget our mistakes, what do? We end up making the same mistake again. See, God is the only one who can truly forget things. It's not in our capacity to forget something that happened. Now you can suppress something that's happened to you and think you block it out of your mind, but you really don't. It'll come up. It'll play into your subconsciousness and all that type of smart people stuff. But we really can't forget it. That's why it always comes back up at some point. But I'm glad that I can't forget my past. I'm glad that I can't forget the mistakes that I made because that helps me to not make the same mistakes again. Now, do I make the same mistakes again? Do we all make the same mistakes again? A lot of times. Um, but come on, one day it's got to click. You got to quit doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's insanity, right? We got to make a change. So cash in that pride for humility. Don't let the past have a hold over your future. Don't let the past make your decisions for you. But don't forget about all the crap that you've done and all the hell that you've raised and how unhappy and untoxic and unhealthy that made your life. Because if we forget about it, we end up making the same mistake over again. And that is something I don't want. And that is something I don't want for myself, for you guys, for anybody listening, anybody in recovery right now. I tell my clients all the time that I'm just a few bad decisions away from a relapse. And that is true for any one of us. A few bad decisions away from a relapse. We gotta make the next right decision. We gotta keep moving forward. Will we have a relapse of behavior from time to time? Yes. But we gotta move forward more than we move backwards. We take 4 steps forward, you might get hit and roll back 2, but let's keep going in the right direction. So don't forget about what's happened. Don't forget about the mistakes you've made. Use that as a driving force to not make the same ones over and over again. To finish up, Boss says, I hope you all can relate to what I'm saying here. The balance of our mind, body, and spirit is fragile and always shifting. It takes continual vigilance to keep it centered. So look at your lives and check yourselves for balance. If you find that you are flip flopping emotionally from one to the other emotions or beliefs, then know you need to reassess where you are and whether an adjustment is needed to restore balance. Do not let your pride interfere with your learning to shift your attitudes and beliefs when needed. Do not just take a stand on something that you may know is wrong, but your pride will not let you shift. There is no honor or integrity in holding a belief that is fundamentally unsound and knowing it is. Stay fluid in your lives and take pride in being humble when needed. You will feel a lot better about yourselves. And where he says, don't just take a stand on something you may know is wrong, but your pride will not let you shift. We can get in arguments or a fight with our spouse or kids or best friend, whatever the case is, whatever the relationship is, we can get in this argument. And we are, a lot of times, if it's me, I may think I'm right at the first, but then let's say my wife Hillary, the more we're talking and the more we're arguing, I can realize that I'm wrong in the midst of that argument, but I got pride sitting on my shoulder over here, and it's telling me, no, boy, you're gonna die on this hill. You are not gonna lay down. You are not gonna surrender, and you are gonna be right even if you're wrong. Prideful, 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 prideful. Don't die on that hill. If you're wrong, admit that you're wrong. Be humble. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be humble. Being humble does not make you weak. Being humble does not make you weak. Being humble is actually a character trait of a godly man, a character trait of a man's man. A man's man doesn't have to put on a front and act big and bad. He just is. He can be humble. He can be the quietest man in the room, and he can take the back seat to everybody. But if he's a man, he's a man. Same thing goes for women. You ain't gotta stand up. You ain't gotta shout to make yourself known. Just do the next right thing. Stay humble. Stay fluid, and your lives will change for the better, and you're gonna feel a lot better about yourself. So that is Vinnie's blog on pride. You can find it again on resolutionshealthcare.com. I can't tell you how many blogs that he's written over the past 4 or 5 years that we've uploaded to there. You can see our other podcasts that we've done. I do these podcasts with clinicians, with clients, with alumni to just share hope, share some lessons, help you to start a conversation with somebody who needs recovery, who needs sobriety, or to help you start that conversation with yourself that, hey, maybe I do need to change. Okay. So I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I will see you on the next one. All right. Peace out.